Hello everybody, squeaking into 11:11 by about 7 seconds. How are you all doing? To those of you who just joined me in the chanting we just did, it was beautiful. I really felt it. For those of you who didn't join me in the chanting, who would like to join me in the chanting, we're still doing it every day. We're going to keep doing it at least for as long as we're in lockdown. And hi everybody tuning in, and yeah, no, it was really powerful today. I had actually, so for those of you who don't know, we're doing chanting every day at 10:30 a.m. London time, which is about sort of about 40 minutes ago from whatever time it is right now if you're watching this live. There's a link on my Facebook events page. It's a chant that has actually existed for a long time. I'm not sure how long. I mean, maybe hundreds of years for all I know. It's a chant to the goddess Kali, and we're doing it for, because of COVID-19, it's because it's to rid of all negativity, including disease, and a big one is fear, and also anger, anything that's sort of spoiling your day. It's a very powerful chant, and if I'm completely frank about it, when I first started doing it, I wasn't that keen on it because, normally we do kind of feel-good chants, don't we? We might chant, Om Shakti, or to the goddess Lakshmi, who's the goddess of love and abundance. And this is to Kali, who, if you don't know Kali, she's actually often depicted as a blue goddess, but actually she's called the black goddess. And she's kind of a scary-looking goddess. And within the chant, the last two words, nasi, nasi, which actually mean destroy, destroy, because it's all negativity, be gone, all negativity be destroyed. And so when I was first doing it, actually I was like, oh, I don't really know, this is really intense, and I felt like I was getting lots of Kali energy and be quite fiery, and it was sort of at the start of lockdown. And then I just settled into it. I don't really know how or why. And then I actually had a feeling at one point that Kali actually was almost in the room with me as I was chanting. And I think it was sort of more or less like around that time, either the day before or the day after, that I used my goddess cards for the first time in a long time and pulled a card and I got Kali. So that was like, okay, that's like an affirmation. And today I had quite an unusual experience, which I really felt like my third eye was I don't know, opening up, or in focus, or I don't know what. And it's interesting because I always think of the third eye as being here, but actually when you're in India and they give you kumkum or whatever, I've got a bit of kumkum here, I could put a bit on actually. When they give you kumkum, they usually put it much lower down, more or less here. I'm going to put some on. This is kumkum. And you see that? Yeah. And so even though I kind of would normally imagine the third eye here, I guess that's because you see so many pictures like that, it was really down here where I've put the kumkum that I could really feel my third eye kind of pumping away. So I'm not really sure about any of that. For those of you who don't know, this is kumkum. And I have read about 1 million times what's in it. It's something like, I don't think it's turmeric, but it's something like something or other. It's nothing, it's just a powder. But the reason why this is special is because it's kumkum from India, which I brought home with me, but also mixed in with kumkum that was given to me kind of directly by my teacher, Narani Amma. So it's sort of got, as far as I'm concerned, super magical powers. So yeah, so that was pretty amazing. So yeah, join us for chanting. We had about 40 people there today, which is amazing. And I had to get special permission to open this up because it's something that's a kind of a directive from the ashram that I go to. Whenever I talk about this ashram, people ask me about it. So let me tell you about it to save you asking me. It's the Sri Narayani Peedam in Tirumalakodi, which is a small town just near a bigger town called Vellore. And if you want to go there, just look it up, Sri Narayani Peedam. And it's an amazing place. I might do a retreat there one day. I don't know. That was kind of the plan, and then I didn't do it. Might do it. Take people with me. Maybe as some kind of high-level retreat we could do together for people who are really wanting to go all the way with a spiritual quest. It's an extremely spiritual place, and it's an extremely unfathomable place. I've been going there on and off for about 15 years. So yeah, there we go. I just wanted to share my experience with the chanting this morning. Join me tomorrow if you want. I'm doing it every weekday, Monday to Friday, same as I'm doing these. And as I said, you can find the link on my Yasmin Boland Facebook events page. There's a link, and I'm pretty sure if you register that it will send you a reminder every day. And I did actually post a reminder today. But I don't always remember to do that because I'm usually rushing around doing things before the chanting, and then I have to come in here and kind of settle down and get into the chanting zone. So what I really wanted to talk about today was the fact that I actually peaked a bit early on the whole Mercury Saturn thing. I thought it was taking place yesterday. I think that was kind of wishful thinking. It's actually taking place today. So we're still feeling it. And so let's just quickly talk about it again. Mercury is the planet of communications and Saturn is the planet of limitations, okay? So if you are caught up in an argument with someone right now, be very careful because push could be about to come to shove, okay? So if you've kind of, you know, given someone an ultimatum that you're not sure about, for example, maybe you want to think, am I really committed to this idea? Do I really, really mean it? Okay, and I wanted to talk about when you get a difficult aspect like this one, which is, you know, really going to have an effect on people. I mean, I think every sign, you know, maybe especially the signs associated, which are going to be Gemini, Virgo, Taurus, Scorpio, Capricorn, Aquarius, Leo, Cancerians, like it's a lot if you take into account all the people who've got this going on in their opposite sign as well. Never mind squares. You know, it really is a time to live consciously. Because if you're into manifesting, let me just assume that you're watching this, and one of the reasons you're watching this is because you're into manifesting. So how do you work with a difficult energy like this, which is basically like people telling each other off, people being a bit mean, people being a bit nasty, or being scared, or feeling limited, or feeling frustrated, or guess what, feeling cooped up mentally, feeling like I can't get out of here, I need to get out and I can't get out. How do you deal with that if you're a manifester? Well, it's quite a simple answer actually. You live consciously and you live intentionally. So what does that mean, living consciously and living intentionally? Well, for example, since you're obviously on the astrological path, if you're watching this, you know, think, okay, I know this is going on. Am I losing my temper? You know, or has someone put me in a corner and now is the time for me to really put the hard word on them and stand up for myself? It's going to be different for everybody, but it's about being conscious of the way you're behaving before you behave, I guess is one way to explain living consciously. It's about being conscious of your actions. And also, I think it's really important if you've done any self-inquiry at all over the years to be really aware of your patterns, you know. Am I acting out? I did the Landmark Forum about 12 years ago. I actually did the Landmark Forum and then like 3 days later got on a plane to India, and where I spent 5 weeks at the ashram, which is the first time I ever went to the ashram. And the idea was to sort of do the right brain stuff. I think I always get my left and right brain confused, but it's like the right brain stuff of the forum, which is all quite logical and it's a system, and to work on myself. If you don't know the Landmark Forum, it's one of the most powerful workshops you can ever do. And then to balance that up with the ethereal, chanting, cosmic, left brain vibes of going to India. And one of the things they teach you in the Landmark Forum, and I think I'm allowed to say, is to notice your patterns, you know, to notice that thing that you always do that trips you up. And they give you tools and techniques for how to do this. And you know, that's part of living consciously, is like doing the self-inquiry. I want to say it in the American way, doing the self-inquiry and understanding what your patterns are and when you're being triggered. I was talking about being triggered again, I think yesterday. I spoke about being triggered, I think, on my Sun, Moon and Stars podcast, just exclusive for members. Yeah, when you're being triggered. So that's part of living consciously as well. And it's a really important time to do that now because we're all cooped up, we're all frustrated. You know, I personally am going into a little bit of fear about coming out of lockdown. Number one, because I've enjoyed it, and number two, because I think, are we ready? Are we really ready? You know, is it okay? I've probably got more fear about going out of lockdown than I have about being in lockdown. So that's all part of living consciously, is being aware of how you're thinking, and living intentionally really is the other side of that coin. And it means, okay, if I'm conscious of this, what are my intentions in this situation? You know, and being really clear on what it is you are intending. And that is all part of manifesting. That is how we manifest. And it's, you know, the thing is, I teach a lot about moon manifesting, which is making your intentions at the new moon and releasing everything to the divine at the full moon. And that's, you know, that's the crux of it. That's the basis, the axis of it. But between the new moon and the full moon, you always have these 2 months. You always have these 2 weeks. Okay, and so it's really a question of, you know, from the new moon when I set my intentions to the full moon, how am I living? From the full moon when I release my intentions back to the new moon when I'm going to set my intentions, how am I living? And now is the time to kind of check in with yourself. How am I living? You know, how am I doing? How am I going with all of this? You know, it's really important. And I have actually, speaking of moon manifesting, I've put a link in the description today on Facebook, because someone wrote to me yesterday about moon manifesting, and I thought, you know what, with everything that's been cancelled, all the events that have been cancelled because of COVID-19, I have a recording of a workshop that I gave in London about probably a year ago now at the Mind Body Spirit Festival. It's just 1 hour, and so I basically gave a big discount. I think normally it's about £19 and now it's about £12, which is about sort of $25, except now it's about 17 or something like that. It's on the page if you click through. So if you click through, I just thought I'm going to take a whack of the price off it to make it more available to people. I mean, honestly, I think I could charge a fair bit more than £12. I think the tickets on the day were £50. So it's very good value. So if anybody wants to snap that up, it's a kind of a special offer. I couldn't really make it much cheaper than that. And it will teach you about the steps of moon manifesting, which is so important to know the framework. But then beyond that, you also need to go beyond that. And you need to think about days like today, where you've got Mercury squaring Saturn. Because another thing Mercury squaring Saturn can do, you know, right now it's probably going to make us all really kind of rah, you know, rah, like that, because of isolation, because of lockdown. But no, under normal circumstances, when we're not all locked down, Mercury Saturn is still going to express itself, and it's going to be, especially if you're into manifesting and you're working on something in particular that you are manifesting, okay? You know, like when you're trying to manifest a new job or a new lover or a new house or a trip away or something like that. Mercury square Saturn, you have to be aware of it on your journey to moon manifesting, because it's days like today when Mercury squaring Saturn that you can lose track of what you're trying to do. You can start to doubt yourself. You can start to doubt your ideas. You can start to go into fear that you're never going to create what you want. So if you're one of the people who's gone into isolation or lockdown thinking, I'm going to come out of this with something, you know, with my side hustle being a big thing, with creating an online course, with, you know, whatever it is you decided you wanted to do in lockdown, and now you're thinking, I'm never going to get it done. Oh my God, how am I ever going to do this? You know, don't give in, because it's Mercury Saturn kind of tricking with you. And sometimes things like this, if you use it positively, can actually be, you know, a path on which to travel, basically, because you start to realize that you are committed to what you said you were going to do. Okay, and that is powerful. So even though Mercury squaring Saturn and it can be tricky, it actually can have a really good outcome. All right, so just a few things to think about. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a card, because I haven't done a card for a few days. So who wants a card? I know you all want a card, or lots of people want a card, because everyone keeps saying you didn't do a card. It's like, sorry, I forgot. So why don't you think of your number one pressing issue that you would like guidance on. I'm going to use my Moonology cards for a change. I've been using different cards, but these are my beautiful Moonology cards. For those of you who don't know them, let me show you the beautiful cover art from Nix Rowan, who's a beautiful artist in Canada. All right, so think of your most pressing question, and I would say either write it in the comments, or say it out loud wherever you are, or write it on a piece of paper if you don't want to put it in the comments. The idea being to really commit to your question, so there's no fudging the answer, if you know what I mean. All right, so I'm going to assume people have done that. Let me just quickly, I've picked the card now, so I hope you've got your question. Yeah, people are saying I'd like a card. Yes, all right. And there, Trisha Orr is saying, beautiful cards, I love mine. Thank you. And She Shines Sunshine on Instagram, I love your cards. Thank you. Okay, all right. I have my card. I've chosen it. This is the answer. Are you ready? What do I need to know if? Interesting. Now this is a quite a mysterious card. Show the world the real you. Now this was one of the cards when I was writing this deck that we kind of, it was one of the cards I struggled with. So let's go with it. Let me read it from the book, which I wrote, but I like to read it. Okay. Interesting. Oh my goodness. Like, this is so applicable to my question. Hope it's applicable to yours. This card brings the message from the cosmos that you need to detach a little from whatever situation you're asking about. Someone might be keeping you at arm's length now, but it's no bad thing. It's important for you to allow life to unfold and progress, even if change seems like a frightening prospect. If you've been holding yourself back from showing the world the real you, this card reminds you that your unique characteristics are what make you special in a relationship. Are what make you special. In a relationship, are you being too aloof or detached? Go ahead and be yourself in whatever is coming up for you. And the attune to the moon is, be aware of your feelings, but also be prepared to move on. Wow. There you go. I hope that answers any questions you may have. Hell yes, he is, says Sam. Resonates. Lauren, oh my God, laughing out loud right now. Sam Brown says so applicable. Yeah, and honestly for me as well. Someone said, what card is it? It's the full moon in Aquarius card. Show the world the real you. All right, so on that note, I'm going to say, mwah, ciao for now. Have a beautiful day, and I will be back here same time tomorrow for more manifesting. Lots of love.